Hello, everybody. Welcome. My name is Dion. Thank you for joining us. I am the nutrition consultant at Your Choices Markets Abbotsford location. So before I introduce our speaker and we dive in, just a couple of housekeeping items here. After the event, if you signed up for it, you will receive an email, and that's going to give you a quick survey to fill out. Please fill that out, and then we will ask you for your physical mailing address. And that is so we can send you a nutrition buck, or a nut buck as we call it. And that's a $10 off coupon if you spend $50 or more in our store. We have lots of exciting events coming up, so please look for those at our website, choicesmarkets.com, as well as our nutrition services. You can find out about them at our website as well, or come see us at one of the stores. So reach out to your local Choices to speak to one of our nutritionists. So now I would like to introduce our speaker. Welcome, Erin Ashley. She is the founder of Aeryon Wellness Supplements. She is a weight loss expert, speaker, #1 best-selling author, and on-air radio personality, as well as a registered holistic nutritional consultant. Erin's mission is to empower women with holistic health. Her female-focused support supplements are a result of 20 plus years of personal experience with hormonal imbalance, weight management, stress, and sleep issues. She resides in Vancouver, BC with her daughter and 2 poodles. So thank you for joining us. Welcome, Erin.
Thank you so much, Dion. And thank you, Choices, for having me tonight. I'm really excited to give this presentation, Winning at Weight Loss. All right, so I get started? We're good? All right, okay, here we go. And thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight as well, taking the time out of your busy day to be here with us and discuss this topic. This is actually one of my favorite presentations to do, so I'm really excited to share this with you. So the topic tonight, winning at weight loss. As Dion kind of went over a little bit about who I am, I'm the founder and CEO of Aeryon Wellness. I'm a certified holistic nutritionalist, ISSA trainer. I'm also an eating disorder recovery coach. I've been in this industry for over 18 years. In 2020 and now in 2022, I've been voted top 100 health and wellness influencer. I have a #1 book on Amazon called Bulimia to Balance, which I'll talk a little bit about in a couple minutes. I have 4 cookbooks of my daughter, and for about 4 or 5 years, I had a wellness show on Pulse 107.7 FM. But my most prized job to date is being the mother to my beautiful 13-year-old daughter, Michaela. And she actually really is the catalyst behind the brand and my aha moment and me really seeking holistic health and wellness and my passion and mission to share it with women everywhere. So I just want to make sure we're all on the same page. Has everybody here heard of the word diet? Sounds familiar to you? You've been on one, had a friend who's been on one, maybe heard the word here and there. You know, when I think of the word diet, a lot of the time this image comes to mind. Now, this is not me, but this was me kind of sort of in a way at like 11:59 when my diet's starting at midnight, or if I've had one too many cookies and I fell off that wagon and just started eating as much as I possibly could. And some of you might resonate with this as well, that on again, off again mentality. You know, we're looking at Charlene here. I think she feels the same way some of us have felt when we're on a diet, fed up with how her diet is going. Charlene takes a more serious aim at her target weight. So before we get started about the Winning at Weight Loss seminar, I kind of want to give you a little information about who I am, a little history on who I am. So as Buzz and Woody say, let's go back to the very beginning. At the age of 12 years old is when I started my very first diet. It was shortly after that, at 13 years old, that I was put into Weight Watchers. My parents were trying to help me figure out my weight gain, what was kind of going on. And as I sat in that meeting of 30-year-old women looking around, I remember thinking I'm too much and I'm not enough all at the same time. It was around that time I also started hormonal birth control. My periods, my acne, my weight gain, everything was just all over the map. And so I was put on birth control to really help alleviate that. In my, and this is a picture of me in my teen years here on the far right there. In my 20s, I started doing fitness competitions, and I still was struggling heavily with bulimia. And this kind of became my glorified eating disorder. So the picture on the left would be my first show. That was the first show I did. And the picture in the middle would be like a month or 2 after. So I really was on this roller coaster of on or off extremes with weight loss, food, and also, of course, exercise. One of the last shows I did was the Arnold Classic. It was a bucket list for myself. And that is me on the left, and on the right, that's about a month and a half later. So you can really see the difference between being really a hardcore on the wagon and really off the wagon. So even if you're somebody who has never done a fitness competition, even if you're somebody who has never struggled with bulimia, I think we can all really understand and resonate with that concept. We're either really good or really not. And I really had my aha moment about over 10 years ago. I had, yet again, I said, I'm going to be good this week. I'm not going to binge. I'm not going to purge. And I found myself in the same situation. I was in the bathroom to purge, and there was a knock at the door. And what was different this time is it wasn't, an adult, but it was my 3-year-old on the other side of the door. And when I rose up and I caught my reflection in the mirror, I realized in that moment that if I didn't get a grip on this, that this disordered relationship with food and my body and movement and all of it was going to be hers. And that was something I wasn't willing to let happen. So that really became my catalyst and my shift in making a different decision and having a different life. And at that point, I was sick and tired. Sorry, I missed this one, but in order to change, we got to be sick and tired of being sick and tired. And I was really sick and tired of dealing with this. And I began to really start picking it apart. And I began to look at cognitive behavioral therapy. I began to look at reaching out and having a support. I began to look at nutrition. I began to look at movement. I had been a trainer and health coach for many years. And I was so good at giving advice to others, but I struggled so much in taking it for myself. And as I began to look at a holistic, healthy approach to things, I did really realize, of course, there's a balanced approach between mind, body, and spirit. So I began to look at nutrition. I began to look at all these different things. And that's really where the 5 pillars of my business, where Aeryon Wellness came to be. And the 5 pillars are the thoughts you think, the friends you keep, your daily movement, nutrition, and then supplementation. And when I had gone through my healing, had worked with therapists, had started to have a better relationship with food and movement, then I began looking for supplementation that could really help heal my adrenals, help balance my hormones. And at the time, I really didn't find anything on the market. So that's when the supplementation part of it really started to come into the picture. So today in this conversation, we're going to kind of be looking at those 5 pillars, and I'm going to be bringing them into this conversation at winning at weight loss. So we're going to discuss mindset, we're going to discuss hormones, nutrition, movement, supplementation, and then I've got some bonus tips for everybody in the end. So let's get started first with mindset. So your mindset is a collection of thoughts and beliefs that share your habits. If we look at that mindset picture in the beginning, we have your behavior, action, results, performance, and attitude all circle around that mindset. And it really is related to how we behave in the world, how our mindset is. And part of that was, as I discussed earlier, was cognitive behavioral therapy. Thoughts create feelings, create actions or non-actions. If I am thinking in my head that, I hate exercise and I hate going to the gym, my feeling is going to be like, I don't want to go to the gym. So if I'm thinking I hate the gym, I'm not going to want to go to the gym, and the action is probably going to be not going to the gym. So really looking at how our thoughts are is such an important process to any shift or change that we want to have long-term in life. So one of the things I'd like you to do, and I should have actually framed this, if you have a piece of paper or a pen, normally, we have an ability to, I can see the chat sometimes, so you can share this on YouTube if you'd like. If not, just keep it to yourself, but write down a negative thought or story that plays in your mind. When I look back and I think of some of the things that used to really hold me in the space when I think about thoughts, create feelings, create actions, it was, I'll never lose weight. I'm big boned. That was a big story for me because people told me that. So it was a negative story and thought that played in my mind where I couldn't win at having weight loss or successful, sustainable weight loss in my life. So if you can write down that negative thought or story that plays in your mind, just take a second, really think about it. Or if you don't have to write down, just really be present with it and think about what that negative thought is. And now I want you to think about what that thought has blocked you from doing. I know for myself, a lot of the time I didn't like to go out. I didn't want to be intimate with my partner at the time. All these different things would happen because I was feeling so negative. I was caught in this story, this self-deprecating story about my body or about my ability to feel good about myself. So what has that thought blocked you from doing? You can write that down or just think about it for a second. And then next, I want you to think of a counter thought. So when we think about cognitive behavioral therapy, when we think about mindset, a lot of that is being able to shift that thought when it shows up for you. And that was a big part of my healing and working towards a healthier relationship with food and my body was when I had those negative thoughts show up, I had to make counter thoughts that I immediately would present to myself so I could shift that way of thinking. So for example, when I'm big boned, I change that to I am strong. It's our family genes. I change that to I control my destiny. There's nothing in family genes about it. This is my life that I'm living. I'm so fat. I love and appreciate my body. I can't stop eating. I trust my hunger cues. These are different ways in which we can change your language, and in changing that language and changing the verbiage and changing your thoughts, all of that then will then change the feelings you're going to be having, and then changing the actions you're going to have, which is going to change the results that you have as well. Another reason why this is really important and why thoughts are so important, even for weight loss and for health and wellness in general, is every thought releases a brain chemical. So if we're focused on negative thoughts, that effectively zaps our brain of the positive forcefulness. It actually slows it down and actually dims your brain's ability to function and can cause depression. So when you think about negative thoughts, just think about the energy. When you think about negative thoughts, just how that makes you feel, how your body sits, everything in a being, how that feels. Now, I want you to think about when you're happy and when you're optimistic and you're thinking positive thoughts and powerful thoughts, that actually your whole entire energy, the way you sit changes. Like even as you saw, I went like this to this, right? Everything shifts, you open up. But also what that does is optimistic, joyful thoughts decreases the hormone cortisol that produces more serotonin. So cortisol is that stress hormone. We're going to talk about that in a couple of slides, but it actually produces more serotonin. That's that happy hormone. And that creates a sense of well-being. So hormones are your body's chemical messengers. We just talked about cortisol there. We're going to be talking about hormones now in relation to weight loss. So now we've looked at our thoughts, how our thoughts are playing a role in our ability to find sustainable weight loss, but also to control how our body's producing cortisol in our body, which then will also affect our other hormones we're going to talk about here. So hormones are body's chemical messengers. They travel in the bloodstream to tissues and organs, and they affect almost everything in our body: growth, development, stress, sex, metabolism, sexual health, not sex, metabolism, all these different things they actually affect within our body. And, you have a slight one of the hormones are slightly off, and it can really actually lead to a whole plethora of problems. So tonight, we're talking about hormones in the sense of for weight gain. So we're going to be looking at some of the hormones that are intricate for weight gain and weight loss. So some of the top places where we find hormonal imbalance when we are struggling with weight gain or the inability to lose weight is in your arm fat, chest fat, belly fat, that hips, thighs, buttock fat, and also that love handle fat. So tonight, I'm going to discuss some of the hormones that play a role in that. So the first one we're going to be looking at tonight is insulin. I'm sure you've all heard about insulin, of course. So insulin is created by the pancreas, and it controls the amount of glucose, the sugar that's in your bloodstream at any given moment. It also helps store glucose in your liver, your fat, and your muscles, and it regulates your body's ability to metabolize carbohydrates, fats, and protein. So insulin resistance happens when you have an excess amount of sugar in the blood, and this reduces the cell's ability to absorb it, right, and use it for energy. And so then it gets stored as fat. So when we look at our little diagram here, we eat food with carbohydrates. The carbs change to sugar, glucose. After digestion, it enters the bloodstream. The pancreas is like, oh, I feel that we've got some sugar in our body, and that's going to produce insulin. And then insulin helps the sugar go into the cells, and we can use that for energy. So that's how insulin is really working within our body. Now, if you find some of the symptoms, if you're finding you're insulin resistant or you're having issues with your insulin, you could be hangry, like you get really hangry when you're hungry, and you're crashing after meals. So you feel energy and then you just crash really hard. That can show a sign of your insulin being out of balance. So some of the solutions you can look at if you're finding this is you can actually eat fewer meals. I know we've been kind of taught to have these 6 meals a day and the snacks. Start looking at maybe having 3 meals a day and resist the grazing, right? So just having 3 meals a day at a set time, right? It keeps the blood sugar a little more stable, and it reduces the stress on your body from having to eat every time with spiking the insulin levels when you're eating food. Having protein with every meal. I cannot emphasize this enough. We're going to be talking a lot about protein tonight. Having protein with every meal, that's going to stabilize the blood sugar. Avoid those simple carbohydrates, those processed carbohydrates. Fruit juice is a really bad culprit. So looking at those kind of things, really reducing those. And also making sure you're using resistance training. Exercise is an insulin sparing activity. My dad struggles. He has type 2 diabetes, and his insulin the other day, his sugar levels were off the chart the other day. And so he has a bike at home. So he started pedaling and started utilizing some of that energy to bring his blood sugar levels down. So really using exercise as well, but really wanting to make sure that we have resistance training in our day-to-day activities. Our next hormone we're going to look at is leptin. So leptin is a hormone secreted by the fat cells to tell your brain when you're full. So people who are overweight can have up to 4 times more leptin. And that actually results in leptin resistance, because leptin and insulin work very well together. So you have a very hard time feeling full. So some of the symptoms is you're constantly hungry. You're never full. You're always hungry. That means your leptin's not really working. So if you're feeling full after your meal, you've had your meal, you're feeling full, you're like, oh, okay, I'm good. That means your leptin is working. So it's a pretty good indication. Now, insulin resistance, as I just said, can lead to leptin resistance where you don't feel full, right? Now, if you're having lots of inflammation in your body, you might be not sensitive to leptin. That's one of the things too. So you can start looking at having more of an inflammatory diet. Some of the culprits for inflammation can be gluten, soy, dairy, sulfites, really looking at embarking on more of an anti-inflammatory diet if you find that you're never really full. So start looking at the foods that you're taking into your day-to-day life. And also getting enough sleep is another good thing that can lower your leptin levels, making sure you go to bed at a set time every night. The next hormone we're going to look at, I like to call him Grenielin, because I think it looks like a Grenielin, but it's actually ghrelin. So ghrelin is a hormone that's produced in the gut, and it's the hunger hormone. So when you have that growling in your stomach, that's ghrelin. So it travels through your bloodstream to your brain, and it says, hey, I'm hungry, right? Time to feed me. So symptoms, if your ghrelin not working properly, is you are constantly hungry. Again, you're always feeling that growling feeling. You're always feeling hungry. And in overweight people, this tends to be lower. So what this does, it doesn't tell your body to stop eating. When you're producing this, it tells your body, hey, I'm full, you're good. And when you're not producing enough, you're constantly feeling hungry. So one of the things you can do, some of the solutions you can do, is you can avoid sugar, avoid those high fructose corn syrups, avoid those, the high sugar food. So make sure you're looking at your ingredients in your food. Another simple solution is to have protein with every meal, as I talked about. It's going to stabilize the blood sugars. You're not having these spikes in your insulin. Protein balances so protein, as I said before, is going to balance your blood sugar, your insulin, your leptin, and your ghrelin. So it's really, really important that we have protein with every single meal. We're going to get into some protein choices in the nutrition component of this conversation today. So the next one we're going to talk about is cortisol. We talked about that a little earlier when we talked about the thoughts, right? When we're thinking self-depressive, fear-based thoughts, it can raise your stress levels. That's going to raise your cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone. And it's a good hormone to have if you lost your child in the mall, you're getting chased by a bear, going to give you that adrenaline, going to give you that push to run out of the way. But if you're constantly stressed and your body's constantly producing cortisol, it's not healthy for you. So it also has an intricate relationship with insulin, as we talked about. So when cortisol levels are up, right? It's okay if it goes up and dries back down. You have that moment of, but it's not good if you're constantly stressed. The cells in our body become resistant to insulin. And in this turn can increase your blood sugar. It can increase muscle loss and increase weight gain. It's also one of the main reasons, besides hormonal birth control pill, that women become estrogen dominant and hormonally imbalanced. So if you look here, you've got insulin resistance, you increase your inflammation. We talked about having more of an inflammatory diet. It elevates your cortisol levels, elevates your glucose levels, and it really becomes this circle. So some of the symptoms of heavier cortisol, when we're thinking of weight gain, when we're thinking about weight loss, would be a heavier midsection. It's kind of those are the cortisol belly. So what you can do with stress, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen, there's been so many great programs on reducing stress, especially now with COVID, managing your stress with sleep, meditation, painting, music, exercising regularly, doing yoga, really looking at ways to calm yourself down and to get into a state. Personally, one of the ways that I really love is I lay in the bed every morning before I get up to start my day. And I think of 5 things I'm really grateful for. I really start my day in a very calm and peaceful state. And I think anytime we're beginning to feel really, really stressed, really bring yourself back to gratitude. That can sometimes help. Also looking at reducing inflammatory foods, as we talked about before, because your body will react by producing more cortisol. So looking at the gluten, the soys, all those different things that can cause inflammation in the body. Making sure you're eating at regular times. We talked about that, having the 3 meals a day. If you're somebody who's finding that your insulin is spiking and if you're crashing afterwards, you want to keep that blood sugar balanced. And of course, having your protein too, making sure you keep that blood sugar balanced, because that is another way to not stress your body and produce more cortisol. So one of the last ones we're talking about tonight in the winning at weight loss hormone kind of talk is estrogen. So estrogen is that famous sex hormone in women, and it's made of cholesterol within the body. It not only regulates our menstruation cycle, but it actually affects our reproductive tract, our urinary tract, heart, blood, bones, skin, everywhere. So it's a really important part, really important hormone, one of the most important hormones in our body. So estrogen dominance, when you have too much of estrogen in your body, this can actually lead to weight gain, moodiness, painful heavy periods, and irregular periods as well. Today, we're looking at more the weight gain aspect of things. Now, there's some 9 causes here of estrogen dominance that we can look at. It's the food. So really looking at the food that we're eating. Are you eating hormone-free food? The water that we're drinking in Canada, we don't really have that issue as much. Personal care products, making sure that we're using all natural personal care products. Your gut health, are you pooping? Are you going to the bathroom? That's one of the way your body excretes estrogen. BPA and other plastics, making sure you're using BPA-free bottles or glass bottles when you can. Heavy metals, body fat, because when you have excess amount of body fat, that actually increases the estrogen in your body. And of course, as I mentioned, the hormone replacement therapy or birth control can also lead to estrogen dominance, and then chronic stress, as we just talked about with cortisol. So when you have estrogen dominance, it actually leads to more weight gain. So we can see here on the little chart, estrogen dominance, it leads to that weight gain around the midsection, which leads to more weight gain, leads to more cortisol, which leads to more weight gain. And then the fatty tissue produces more estrogen, which leads to more weight gain. So it becomes really this vicious circle. Some of the symptoms if you're estrogen dominant, weight gain would be hips, thighs, midsection. Those would be the areas we're really looking at. And this increased fat that you find in those areas will increase the leptin. So then you're not feeling full. So you're always feeling hungry. So it kind of creates, again, as we were saying, this vicious cycle. So some of the solutions you can look at, one of the easiest ones to really make a difference is, are you pooping? Are you going to the bathroom on a regular basis? Really making sure that you have regular bowel movements, increasing that fiber, having daily movement. There's a study I read recently, and it was saying if you sweat for 30 minutes a day, 5 days a week, you can reduce your estrogen by 19%. So just that alone. So going to the bathroom regularly, making sure you're getting that daily movement, eating your cruciferous vegetables, that helps with stage 2 detoxification. You've got the broccoli, the kale, the Brussels sprouts, all those really good cruciferous vegetables, and avoiding the plastics, water bottles, BPA chemicals, and birth control pill. So those things, if you can take a couple of the things out and start applying them to your life, it's really going to help with balancing that estrogen out. So some of the takeaway from the hormone section that we just talked about: protein with every meal. I cannot emphasize this enough. You have to have protein with every meal. We're going to talk about this in the next one. Avoid those simple processed carbohydrates, the high fructose corn syrup, that's going to spike your insulin levels, right? Really avoiding those, having more complex carbohydrates. We're going to talk about that soon. Setting eating times. If you're finding that your blood sugars are spiking, you're crashing after every single meal, having fewer meals per day, having 3 set meals a day instead of 6. Managing your stress with meditation, painting, self-care. If you need to watch, I'm watching Downton Abbey right now. This is my self-care every night. I watch an hour of it. Then that can be your self-care, whatever it is for you that gives you that chance to relax and really take a break. Manage your sleep. Go to bed at a set time every night. This is equally as important. I go to bed every night at 10:30. No matter what. If I stay up too late, after that, I really find I have a broken sleep during the night. Eating those cruciferous vegetables, reducing inflammation, looking at inflammatory meal plans, looking at taking the corn, dairy, soy out, if that's something you think that you need based on what we're talking about, avoiding plastic, chemicals, and birth control. And then fiber-rich food, as I said, are you pooping? And then drinking your water, another way to flush, right? So all really important aspects for hormonal health when we're looking at weight loss. So next we're going to talk about nutrition. So let food be thy medicine, or medicine be thy food. I'm a big believer in looking at food, and so I'm going to get into this. I was in that slide for a second. I was thinking how I'm going to do this. So we usually have a guest to win, And I'm not sure, Dion, if we can do this. So I'm going to get Dion to watch the YouTube channel. Dion, you can hear me, right?
Yes.
Okay. So, okay, I'm going to get you to watch the YouTube channel, and because I'm going to get people to enter into the chat their answer. So the first person to tell me what macros are, I will be sending you a gift pack. So who's the first person that can type it in? Dion, you'll have to tell me if anybody's typing.
I'm waiting.
Anybody? It's a good gift pack. Nobody?
No, there is like a couple second delay.
Oh, there's a
So
couple things late. Okay, I'll wait here for a second. Well, in that case, I'll look at Brian here, and and what he says to you muted me.
I'm sorry. I tried to mute myself. I am so sorry.
Don't worry. It's okay. It's okay. Did we get anybody guessing?
No, not
All
yet.
right. Okay.
We've had a couple questions come in if you want to address them while we're waiting, or do you want to wait till the end?
Let's wait to the end.
Okay.
Yeah, if that's okay.
Okay.
Okay. So as Stewie says to Brian here, so we'll see if somebody comes up with what macros are. Macros are your protein, fats, and carbs. So
someone answered.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Yay.
Yeah.
Jazz hands. Okay.
We have a winner.
Okay,
Carbs,
good.
protein, fats was the answer.
Yay. Okay, good. You won. So if you can, Dion, can you just grab her name? Or,
absolutely.
And I'll email or grab her email, and I will email her. She can email me afterwards, and I'll send her out her gift pack for this. So,
Okay.
So as Stewie says to Brian, you can't look like this without the proper macros, Brian. So macros are really important. They're really important. We're starting to look at nutrition, especially for weight loss, and understanding what that is. So macronutrients, as Barb, I believe her name was, I think that's what she said, protein, fats, and carbohydrates. So we're going to get into protein first. As we talked about with our protein chat. Oh, we have a person in the chat. Oh, okay, good. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Oops. Jennifer. Congratulations, Jennifer. Sorry, let me go back here. As we talked about before with protein, we looked at balancing hormones. We looked at leptin, insulin. We looked at Grenielin, all those things, protein with every meal, balancing those blood sugar, how essential those are, how essential protein is. So protein stabilizes blood sugar, insulin, improves fat burning because it's going to increase, your body burns more muscle, burns more with muscle than it does with fat. It stimulates muscle building. It improves learning and memory. It promotes a positive mood. It's important for heart health. It slows down the aging process and also improves bone density, especially as women going into menopause. Really important. We're looking at that bone density. So some of the benefits of protein, hormonal balance, as I spoke about before. Now, if you're wondering what proteins are actually building blocks, made of building blocks called amino acids. So your body uses these amino acids to build and repair muscle and bones and to make hormones and enzymes. It creates lean muscle tissue, which speeds up your metabolism. So we're going to figure out, I'm going to teach you guys how to figure out what you require day to day for your protein levels. So how you figure out your protein levels is you figure out what you weigh in pounds, and you'd have to convert that into kilograms. So once you convert your weight into kilograms, so if you weigh 150 pounds, that would be 70.3 kilograms. Now you're going to times it by 0.8, right? 0.8 is the lowest you want to go, and that's going to give you 56 grams of protein you're going to have day to day. And you can split that between your 3 meals that we talked about or your 6 meals, making sure you get a little bit of protein every single meal. So I tend to do myself, because I work out quite a bit, I do 1 gram per kilogram. So if let's say I'm 70.3 times that by 1, I'm doing 70 grams of protein a day. So having higher levels of protein is going to create more lean muscle tissue. It's going to speed up my metabolism. Also, another thing to look at as well, you can screenshot this if you wanted to write this down, so you can really figure out how much you need and then divide it in your meals and start really taking account for how much protein you're having in your day-to-day diet. Your immune cells as well, speaking of immunity, because that's been a big topic of late, your immune system powerhouses such as antibodies, they rely on protein. Your immune system needs protein. So really important you have that. So there's some sources of good quality protein you can have. There's grass-fed beef and chicken, wild fish, lentils, eggs, chickpeas, bone broth, spirulina, chlorella, tofu, whey, and of course, there's some really great vegan proteins on the market. And I'm going to touch base on a couple of my favorites. This is a local Canadian company, a BC company as well, family owned and operated, Prairie Naturals. So they have a great whey protein. This is the one that I use. The reason I really like this is New Zealand whey. So there's no hormones used in the cows. So happy cows, happy whey. It's tested so it's free of BSA and RBGH, the bovine growth hormones. That's a great one. It's naturally sweetened. I can make a smoothie for my daughter with this one. She loves it too. It's high protein and the lower carbohydrates. You don't have any blood sugar levels that are issues that are going to be happening with this one. If you're a vegan, we've got the rice protein, and that's made from organic raw sprouted brown rice. And that is a complete protein that has all the essential amino acids. So a lot of the vegan proteins don't tend to have all the essential amino acids. Vegan rice protein does. It also has the same quality as whey, egg white, and milk too. The next one we want to look at is bone broth. I'm a big fan of using bone broth in my slow cooker in the winter months. I love that. So it really helps with gut health and immune health. And it's also going to help with skin, joints, and healthy bones. So a lot of people now are really looking at bone broth. There's the beef and the chicken, and Prairie Naturals has an organic version, which is quite lovely. These are all available at Choices as well. So next is healthy fats. So we're looking at all three of them, right? So we've got, it's going to balance your hormones to have those healthy fats. It helps with heart health. It regulates your blood temperature. And in order to absorb vitamin A, D, E, and K, we have to have fats with it. It's a fat soluble vitamin. It has brain support, joint support, stabilizes your blood sugar as well. We talked about stabilizing that blood sugar, detoxifies the body, and it's also anti-inflammatory. So if you're looking at having more anti-inflammatory diet, you really want to look at having these really good healthy fats in your day-to-day meals, nutrition. So some of the sources of healthy fats, we have nuts and seeds, avocado, olive oil, coconut oil, MCT as well. Coconut oil, MCT oil that actually regulates the body's response to insulin. We have fish oil, flax oil, grass-fed butter, and then of course cheese as well. So now we're going to step into carbohydrates. So carbohydrates have kind of gotten a bad rap over the years with keto and with a lot of the low carb diets. I am a big believer in having everything with moderation. It was somebody who has spent years restricting myself. What I always find is it leads to kind of falling back off, right? So if you have ultimate restriction, if you have too much restriction, then you'll end up going too far on the other end. And I've done a lot of keto talk over the years. But one of the things I would always find is there is a hard time finding balance with that, because you're taking out a whole entire food group and then you start having it again. So you create that on again, off again mentality. So having carbohydrates is perfectly fine. It's just making sure you're having the good whole grain carbohydrates. We're going to go over some of them. So carbohydrates provide energy. It's going to give you fiber. Fiber is going to help you go to the bathroom, as we talked about earlier. It's going to help with sleep. It lifts your mood up. It improves your digestion. It provides the vitamins and also provides phytonutrients as well. So it's just looking at really making sure we're having these healthy sources of carbohydrates, not the high fructose corn syrup, not the sugars, not all the white starchy prepackaged stuff, but looking at getting good healthy carbohydrates that's going to slow your digestion down, keep you fuller longer, and really assist your body in doing what you want it to do and giving the results you want to have. So we've got whole fruits, bananas, berries, oranges. I'm a big fan of blueberries, watermelon, all these wonderful fruits. A lot of people don't know, but fruit is a carbohydrate. Starchy vegetables, winter squashes. I'm big on the squashes right now with the winter time. And I also really love beets. I'm a big fan of beets too. Those fibrous vegetables, I kind of leave those ones as an open one. I can have as much asparagus as I want, Brussels sprouts as I want. In all of my life, I've never binged on broccoli. I usually tend to cap it off at a certain amount. So I really allow myself an open amount of fibrous carb veggies that I want to have. And then also looking at grains and legumes, whether it be Ezekiel bread, chickpeas, buckwheat, oatmeal, all these wonderful whole grains that are also really essential and really good for you as well. So another section I want to talk about quickly that I hadn't mentioned before is fermented foods, because we talked about making sure we have bowel regularity, talked about taking care of our gut. 80% of our immune system is in our gut. It's really essential and important that we really address this. So if you have gas, bloating, constipation, you really start to need to look at having some fermented food or supporting your gut in different ways. So some of the things you can do to supporting your gut is kefir, tempeh, sauerkraut, having some sauerkraut with your dinner. Apple cider vinegar drinks have really become popular. You can include that in your diet. That's a fermented beverage. Probiotics are another one. So another thing we need to look at is when you have poor gut health, It increases estrogen-related disease because you'll become more estrogen dominant when you're not able to excrete, you're not able to go to the bathroom. You will have excess estrogen in the system, as we talked about before. That can also lead to PCOS, endometriosis, and breast cancer. So the big question, are you pooping? Are you regular? Are you taking care of that gut health? Another thing you can do is look at enzymes. If you're finding that you're gassy, bloating, you're constipated, looking at enzymes. And there's some great ones. There's Enzyme Force. If you do not have a gallbladder, I highly, highly suggest that you get an ox bile. There's Bile Force enzyme. That's by Prairie Naturals as well. It's going to really help balance your intestinal system and your gut when you're actually having fatty foods. So take a look at that if that's something that you're finding as an issue, but really taking care of gut health is really important too. And another topic I want to talk about, which is really important to me and what I've included in my daily regime for many, many years, is superfoods. So superfoods are these nutrient dense foods. They have large dosages of antioxidants, polyphenols, vitamins, and minerals. When we think of superfoods, the goji, the turmeric, the kale, the spirulina, the chlorella, the moringa, all these wonderfully, beautifully colored foods, all these, superfoods, and they can reduce the risk of disease. They promote healthy gut microbes. It energizes you, gives you stamina, protects cellular health, reduces inflammation. We talked about that earlier when you tend to be more inflammatory, prevents fat oxidation, promotes eye health, and slows down aging. I have been taking superfoods for the past 15 years. I am an avid superfood fan. And if it's one thing I really tell people that I think they really should be including in their life, and this is why I put into the nutrition thing, because it's not a supplement to me. This is really an important food. And one of them I really like, I'm going to share with you, is the Prairie Natural Superfood. This is available as well as choices. And I take it every day right here. It's 20 fermented organic food-based antioxidants. So it's fermented, as we talked about that fermentation process. So it's going to be more bioavailable, but it also, of course, is going to help your gut too. We've got fermented greens like kale, wheatgrass, oatgrass, and barley. And then when they have fermented maca and turmeric, which helps with inflammation, and beet as well. Then they've also got mushrooms in here too, which is really cool. Spirulina, chlorella, moringa. It's vegan, non-GMO, soy-free, it's gluten, and really easy to make. And I'm going to go over a couple of the ingredients, but I'm going to show you the color. So it's this nice, it's one little scoop in here. It's this nice green. I don't know. It's too bad I can't hear if anybody's actually taking greens. I'm sure some of you listening today take greens, but I'm going to show you how simple it is if you don't. Shaker cup. I put this in my smoothies. So I'll have the vanilla whey protein, put it in my blender at night before I go to bed. I always have a smoothie usually before I go to bed. I'll add some greens to it, 1 scoop. Take my trusty water bottle. I have some ice cubes in there. Just mix it up like this. I usually go halfway and put the lid on. I've got some ice cubes in here. And it's good to go, right? So I usually have this in midday. Sometimes I have it in the morning, have it whenever I want. It doesn't, there's no caffeine in it. So, but it's really, really good. A light blueberry taste, fantastic thing to add to your smoothies. So not only are you going to get that whey protein, you're also going to get all the antioxidants in here, which is really important. Create the body, put the body more in an alkaline state. That's what all these superfoods are really intended to do. And we want to make sure our body is alkaline. So in there, they got kale. It's the most nutrient dense food on the planet. I'm sure lots of you have heard about kale. Powerful antioxidant. It helps with blood clotting. Also is high in lutein and zeaxanthin. It's going to help your eye health because we're all looking at these screens. We've got some wheatgrass in here that's going to help with cravings, boost metabolism. We've got turmeric that's going to help with inflammation, as we talked about before. Also helps with skin health and regulates cholesterol. Then we've got the mushrooms. I'm not naming everything in here because we could be here all night because it's got a lot of great stuff. The reishi mushroom, lion's mane, turkey tail, and cordyceps. So it's got some really great mushroom blend in there too. And those are really coming to the forefront right now. The most important 2 things I really love about this one too is chlorella. Chlorella has 16 vitamins and 8 minerals. It has 19 essential amino acids, and 9 essential amino acids. So it's a complete protein, just as the whey is. It's a complete protein, and the brown rice protein. And it's got omega-3s, omega-6s, and then spirulina, which is antibacterial and packed with chlorophyll as well. And it's good for a liver detox. So this is something you can take every day. This one here, I have it on a regular basis. So you can see Prairie Naturals has a whole lineup of wonderful superfoods. It's all available at Choices as well. It's really easy to add to your day-to-day. So next we're going to talk about exercise. So as I said before, like the 5 pillars of Aeryon Wellness is all these things combined, right? The thoughts you think, cognitive behavioral therapy, the friends you keep, having a good support network is important. Movement. So now we're going to talk a little bit about movement. We talked about nutrition already. So a lot of the time people I find when I've trained people throughout the years, they don't like going to the gym. And I've always said, if you hate going to the gym, don't go. Start looking at the sports you played as a kid. Did you play baseball? Did you play Frisbee? There's so many activities that we can do. And if you're from the lower mainland here, luckily we have more of a mild winter, so you can enjoy the outdoors more so than some of our friends out east. So really looking at what you did, you can go for walks, hikes. It's about moving your body every day, creating that habit of moving your body every day and shifting the way we're looking at that movement. Instead of looking as like, oh my God, I got to go to the gym. It's, I get to move today. I get to move this wonderful body of mine today, and I'm going to show appreciation for it by moving it. One of the things I have in my house, you can do little challenges with your friends. I was going to say that it's a fun thing to do. I have these bands. They're my Aeryon Wellness bands. These workout bands, super simple. You can simply put stuff like scoot back here. If you're doing Zoom calls, you can do, very simple exercises while you're sitting on a Zoom call. You can do squats, right? There's lots of things you can be doing that you could be doing right now during our call. That would be a workout while you're listening to me talk. You can do push-ups off the back of your chair. If you're doing Zoom calls with people, you don't have to have the camera on, then you can definitely do stuff like that. But looking at, if you're watching TV at night, watching that Downton Abbey, get on the floor and do some crunches, do some squatting up and down. Moving that body every day is so important. And it's also a really good example too to our kids when they're watching us, that we honor our bodies and take care of them, because it's not just what we eat. It's not just what we're thinking. It's not just, it's everything all together, right? Looking at all of this as a whole and looking at having those weight bearing exercises. If you struggle to get a full 30 minutes in, break it up into 10 minutes at a time. That's another easy way of doing it. 10 minutes, 3 times a day. So tonight you're going to be getting, after the presentation, you're going to be sent the Lose the Excuses. You're getting our meal plans. You're also getting this little workout. So simple things like this, and you have to accommodate it to make it work for you, because we're all different in our abilities. So, walking lunges could maybe just be, sitting up and down in a chair. Just depends where you are athletically, but this is really going to give you kind of a basis to go with. And you'll be getting that tonight when we send you the healthy bucks, I think they're called, nutrition bucks. So we've talked about making sure we have adequate protein. We've talked about stress management. We've talked about prioritizing the micronutrients, making sure you're getting some good superfoods in, probiotic, good rich foods, talked about that fermentation, making sure you're taking care of your gut, talked a little bit about sleep, consuming those healthy fats, limiting that ultra processed food, those high fructose corn syrups, staying active and moving your body, weight bearing exercises, and making sure you're having adequate fiber, and of course to go to the bathroom on a regular basis. So now we're going to talk about supplementation. This is the 5th pillar of Aeryon Wellness. And now we're going to get into a little bit of supplementation talk. So now that we've really looked at shifting the way our thoughts are, we've really looked at how we're going to take care of our hormones and what different things we're going to be doing and some of the solutions for actually managing our hormones. Now we've looked at nutrition, some of the things we can do, looking at movement. Now we're going to step into supplementation. So the 2 products we're going to talk about tonight are Lose It, Metabolism Support, and Water Be Gone. So Water Be Gone really came from this product personally, because I struggle with high amounts of, do we have a question in the chat? Oh, okay, you're asking me questions. Okay, sorry. We have high amounts of, when we pre-cycle, I would have high amounts of water. I'm very sodium sensitive. And when I did those fitness competitions back in the day, you would take diuretics before you got up to do the show. And so what I always wondered was, why wasn't there anything like this geared towards women when the pre-cycle, or if you're having really sodium rich foods? But not only that, if you're really looking at kind of trying to get or working on weight loss, water tends to be one of the first things to tend to go. So it's a really nice way to kind of get rid of a little bit of water right away and kickstart your weight loss plan. So When our fat cells are full of fat and we lose body fat, those cells empty. Now those cells fill with water and maintain the shape because they're waiting for more fat to show up. But when you lose more fat, you retain a little bit more water. And then your fat cells slowly shrink as you lose weight. So what we're doing basically is we're kind of taking a little bit of that step out. We're going to reduce some of that water that's in your system. So some of the symptoms, if you find that you do struggle with water retention, is you're bloated, you're sodium sensitive. Very sodium sensitive, puffy legs, puffiness in the face, you have the stiff joints, you have the weight fluctuations, also the skin indentations as well. Women can gain 5 to 8 pounds of water weight pre-cycle, which is quite a bit. So some of the ingredients in here, we have black cohosh. So black cohosh relieves PMS symptoms, menopausal symptoms, hot flashes, and it's actually used for prevention and treatment in prostate cancer in men, which is a really interesting fact. So your partners, boyfriends, brothers, whatever you want, they can take this product very easily. We have dandelion there as well that acts as a diuretic. Then we have juniper berry with a clinical dose of juniper berry in here. So it's going to help with UTIs and also supports kidney health and flushing out toxins and impurities. We have milk thistle. It's a powerful liver support. So it's really going to support the liver and support weight loss as well. And it works synergistically with NAC. And NAC is a precursor to glutathione. It's a powerful antioxidant and a potent liver regenerator. So really looking how we can support the liver to flush out the excess water. And last but not least, we put magnesium citrate in here to really increase the water to the intestine and also help with any muscle cramping that may occur. So it helps with PMS water weight. It has the unique hormone balancing formula in there when we have the black cohosh. And it's great for a weight loss kickstart, if I'm honest, because you're really going to kind of flush out a little bit of that excess water. You're going to see that dial move a bit on the scale. It's going to keep you motivated. I use it as a salty meal solution. I keep this on my shelf at all times. If I'm really honest, on the weekends, if I have some sushi, I'll take a couple. When I traveled to Toronto a couple of weeks ago for business, I took some on my flight, so I wasn't retaining water on the flight. If I'm going into my period, I'll also have some then too. So it's a really nice product just to have around. It's also UTI support, immune support, non-GMO, and it's vegan as well. And so the next one, because these two can be stacked, and I'll talk about that in a second, is Lose It metabolism support. So Lose It is going to help with weight loss plateaus, hormonal imbalance, as we talked about the different areas of the body that can cause weight gain when you're hormonally imbalanced. Also with low energy, slow metabolism. It's an excellent pre-workout. If you're looking for a product to kind of get you in the mood to go have a great workout, this is the product you definitely want to take. My 67-year-old mother takes this before she goes and plays pickleball, and she's a small person, but she absolutely loves this product for energy, keeps her going, and no crashing. So in this product, I'll go through this quickly. We have indole-3 carbinol. So indole-3 carbinol is found in vegetables such as broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, those vegetables we're talking about that are actually responsible for detoxifying and also eliminating the body of estrogen. So it's going to balance estrogen in the body and supports the liver detoxification of estrogen, as I just said. Then we have red pepper extract. So red pepper extract, studies have shown people who consume red pepper increases feelings of fullness. It actually also increases the heat in the body. So it's going to increase the calories burned. You don't feel hot though, just FYI. And it also has an appetite suppressant. Then we have caffeine. There's 1.5 cups of coffee per pill. So that's going to stimulate the nervous system to send messages to the fat cells to break down. Then we also have L-carnitine in here. L-carnitine is an important amino acid. It helps with boosting the metabolism, also helps with muscle fatigue and recovery time and burning fat. Then we have green tea. In this product, we've actually reduced, my eyes itchy. We've taken out the caffeine. So we've extracted the caffeine from the green tea. The reason being is we don't want to have a product that's full of caffeine that's going to raise your cortisol levels and then hurt your adrenals and then put you in that same cycle we were talking about earlier with hormones. We're using this one because the green tea actually has theanine in it, and that actually reduces the amount of cortisol your body's releasing. So we talked about that before, that elevated levels of cortisol can lead to elevated levels of estrogen, which can lead to elevated weight gain. So this is really looking at how do we combat that. Then we have the olive leaf, which supports weight loss. It actually reduces appetite and improves insulin sensitivity, as we talked about before, with the insulin levels going up and down. So increasing that insulin sensitivity, so your body actually utilizes it better. And then B12, which boosts the metabolism, supports the nervous system, and converts the energy, provides energy by converting the food we eat into sugar. So all in all, with Lose It, increases energy, exercise enhancer, I take one a day. As I said, I take one every morning, and I go to the gym in the morning. I only take one a day just for a pre-workout. I really believe in taking things how they work for you. You can take 2 or 3 a day. I tell most people start with 1, see how you feel, see you have a good workout, and then you have somewhere to work up to. It's going to help with the hormonal balancing, helps with recovery when you're working out. It's a fat loss support. It's low stimulant, so there's no jitters, and it helps decrease your appetite. I have a lot of people who do intermittent fasting. They love this product because they're able to stay in their fast a little bit longer. So one of the things I want to also talk about with these products is the QR code. Something that's really unique about Aeryon Wellness that we have that nobody else on the market has today is every product has a QR code. When you get onto your phone, you simply go to your camera. I'm going to show you guys how it works. Go to your camera, you pick up the bottle. Every single one has that QR code. You can see that there. You simply scan it. It takes you to a landing page on the website. Oh, no, I'm airplane mode. Sorry, I put my phone on airplane mode. Let me go off there. There we go. Sorry about that. 1 second. There we go. I didn't want to be interrupted when I was talking to you. Okay. So here we go. So it goes to a landing page on the website. On this, we have a 30 to 60 second video. This 30 to 60 second video explains everything that's in this product and what this product will do for you. Every single one of Aeryon Wellness products has a QR code that's specially for them, for that product. So 30 to 60 second video explaining the product. Then we also have a meal plans. Each one has its own specialized meal plan. It comes with a full shopping list. It comes with, I don't know if you can see this. Oh, I think I'd have to go back maybe. I don't know if you guys can see it. Well, maybe you can't, my screen. You'll have to go and test it out yourself. Full shopping list with pictures of all the products, all the recipes. It's beautifully done, vegan and non. Then we've also got a lot of education in here too. So we talk about estrogen in here. We talk about toxins, hydration, stress management, really giving you the tips and tools and strategies for you to actually apply to your life. As we had this conversation tonight, a lot of these are in these QR codes here that we have on the products. And then last but not least, you have the workout plan, and we also have a workout video. So equipping you with the habits, with the strategies to make the changes to actually have sustainable health and wellness in your life. And every single product has its own one. So all 7 of them do. So if you do see the products and choices, go in and scan one and take a look. I'd love to hear what you guys think about it. And most recently, this past December, I actually was on Dragon's Den. That's a really weird frozen frame. So you can go to CBC Dragon's Den and Google Aeryon Wellness, and you can see my pitch. I had 3 offers, and I accepted an offer with Arlene Dickinson. So that was really exciting. And that's how I got on the show, was using these QR codes, because I'm the first one in Canada to be using it in this capacity to help influence and help people with their life. So that was kind of exciting and fun this past December. So some extra tips we're going to talk about tonight. I just want to kind of say a couple of things. We are what we eat. So although we talked about nutrition, a lot of the time that can be really overwhelming. And I've really always abided in the space of an 80-20 rule, at least this past 10 years I have. So 80% of the week, I find Monday to Friday, I can eat really consistently, and I don't have extras, I guess you could say. And on the weekend, if I want to go to the movie theater and have some popcorn, that's part of my 20%. I'll have some. If I want to have some chocolate, I'll have some chocolate. I don't believe in restriction. I don't believe in deprivation, because all that's going to do is make you fall off the wagon again. And what we really want to do is find sustainable health and wellness. So really looking at 80-20 rule is a really nice way to kind of view things. Water, water, water. Drink your water. You want to drink 8 to 10 glasses a day, if not more. Drink as much as you possibly can. If you don't like it, put some lemon water to it. Another thing I do, I put 4 of these on in the beginning of the day. I take 1 off at a time when I'm done, and then I just put them on my wrist. It's a great way of keeping track of your water. I know you'll go to the bathroom more, but it's great for your skin, and it actually can keep you fuller too. We talked about reducing sugar, but just another note on that, because it is really important. Really start looking at the foods that you're eating. You know, we saw what it can do to our hormones, how it increases our insulin levels, how it can cause us to crash. Those glucose levels can spike and fall. It actually can accelerate aging. It's an increased risk for diabetes, obesity, and heart disease. It decreases your immunity. So if you do have a sweet tooth, I have a sweet tooth. There is Sweet Monk. I believe that's available as choices. Stevia and xylitol, some great natural sweetener options that you can use instead of having sugar. And another one too that's really important is mindful eating. So looking back at what we're doing when we're eating. And I think all of us have had those moments where we're eating and we're like, oh my God, I can't even remember what I ate. I can't even taste it. right? Because you're just doing this the whole time. So really getting conscious to what you're eating, taking a moment, either saying, thank you so much for this food to yourself or to whoever, but just thank you for the fact I get to enjoy this food today, really slowing down, really taking a moment to enjoy the food that you're going to be putting into your body, smell the food, taste the food. I think they say 25 bites. That can be a little challenging at times, but really chew a little slower and be more present when you're eating. Creating more mindfulness is another really great tip. Lastly, be patient and compassionate. We all want change yesterday. We are an instant society. We want things now or, 2 days ago. And to create lasting change, it takes daily action. I mean, I had to really start making these conscious choices when I felt the need to binge. I had to change. I had to go back to those thoughts that I had changed, those thoughts we talked about earlier. I was like, no, I don't land in that space anymore. I had to separate myself. I didn't have certain trigger foods in the house for quite some time because I knew that would lead me to want to binge on food. So looking at those things that you can do to make a difference and choose different habits. And look at measurements instead of scale. I don't own a scale. I threw my scale out years ago. We don't weigh ourselves in my household. It's all about kind of how our clothes fit and how we feel in our bodies. I think that's really important. And focus on the small wins. I mean, did you drink all your water today? Did you go for a 30-minute walk today? Did you take time with your kid today? Were you present? Were you able to, be kind to yourself? Those are all small wins that can't be taken for granted. And another thing too, is it doesn't take a week to gain. It didn't take me a week to struggle with my eating disorder. It took me years of a pattern and habits. It took me years to kind of get to a point where I am now, where I have a really healthy relationship with food and my body, one that I never thought would be possible. And I've finally found sustainable health and wellness. And it's using all these different tools that I've had in my toolbox, using those 5 pillars, looking at my hormones, looking at my nutrition, looking at my movement, all these things together. So some of the takeaway lessons tonight are: be mindful of your thoughts. If that's one thing I can really impart on you tonight, if you have a self-deprecating thought show up, if you have something that's triggering you or a story that you're telling yourself, really be mindful of that, because that plays such a big role, not only in your actions that you're going to be taking or your non-actions that you're not going to be taking, but it also affects your hormone levels, as we spoke about. So that's such a basic thing we can do to catch ourselves and be like, no, I'm not thinking about that. Resort to that piece of paper, whether you carry it with you, have little sayings all over the house, whatever it takes. Pay attention to stress and hormonal imbalances. Looking, are your levels, are you crashing afterwards? What are some of the tips and tools we talked about? Having the meals, more spaced out, making sure you're having protein with every meal. That's another way to do it too, that we talked about. Create winning food choices. Really start looking at your nutrition. If you had a beautiful sports car, if you had a Ferrari, you're not going to put regular gasoline in there. You're going to be putting the premium gasoline. Look at that food that you're having every day as premium gasoline to support your body to get the results you want to have, right? So that regular or, leaded, whatever gas, not so good gas, that would be like those high fructose, snacks that we can pick up in a box. Giving yourself good food is going to give yourself the results you want to have. Move your body for 30 minutes a day, no matter what it is. Find something you love and do it. Supplement when needed. Use products like Lose It or Water Be Gone if you really need that extra encouragement, if you want to have something that's going to take you into the next level. And also really, I call Lose It like lose the excuses. That's one of the reasons why, because I find when I take one, I have to work out. It's like my thing. Water, water, water. Reduce that sugar. Be mindful when you're eating. Be kind to yourself. Above all, use a plan to kickstart. You're going to be getting a plan tonight from us. And I guess the big question you really have to look is, what do you want your story to be? When I look back all those years ago, when Michaela knocked on the door, I realized I wanted to make a very conscious, different decision in my life. And from that, I started taking different action points, different steps towards the direction of what I wanted to be and who I wanted to be in this life. And every day I evaluate that, like, who do I want to show up as? What do I want to be in my life? What example do I want to lead by? And every day it's making these choices every day, and they get easier and easier and easier as we go on. And what example do you want to be to those that you love too? Because if you have kids, they're watching you. She watches me all the time. So last but not least, Aeryon Wellness is a female-founded company. And also a percentage of every portion of Aeryon Wellness is donated to the Downtown Eastside Women's Shelter here in Vancouver. We've done that since the very first bottle we sold. It's a really important cause to me. I struggled as a teen growing up. And so I had, if it wasn't for these grassroots organizations, I would not be talking to you today. And also Aeryon Wellness is very proudly Canadian as well, and BC based, Vancouver based. And so if you have a chance, head over to our website. We'd love you to subscribe to our 5 Pillars of Holistic Health newsletter. We have this going on. We really look at those 5 pillars. We do interviews with women doing wonderful things. We give recipes. We have daily affirmations, all sorts of stuff to really inspire you to live your best life. And if you would like to follow us, please follow us on Instagram at Aeryon Wellness, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. And then, of course, my own personal is Erin Ashley. I'd love to have you follow me. Reach out if you have any questions. And also, if you start taking one of the products, you have any questions, you can always reach out and ask me. I'm always available. And as Dion mentioned tonight, so I want to throw this in here to just remind you that you do get $10 off every $50 spent. Right now, Lose It and Water Be Gone. And we also have Reclaim, Reset, Restore also, and I don't think CBD listed yet. We have other products as well. These are all on special right now, so you can get them on special and use your nutrition bucks as well. So now I'll open the floor to questions. Okay.
Thank you. That was awesome. Maybe can you just reiterate or tell us what your website address is? So
yes, sure. Sorry. So it's www.aeronwellness. So AERYON, aeronwellness.com. But yeah, the newsletter, we just started it. We've done our first one, so we're super excited about it. Okay, so.
I tried to copy and paste the questions, but they came through kind of messy. Do you want me to just read them to you? That might be easier.
No, I can read them here. So,
okay.
Heidi Clarkson, testing levels. She wants to know about how you can test the levels of leptin and grelin in your body. I think you'd have to go talk to your doctor about that. So I believe there are tests for that. I actually, to be honest with you, that's a really good question. And so now I'm going to go investigate that because I wish I knew that too. So I will look that up. I haven't heard about testing for that, but I imagine there definitely would be for sure. What about postmenopausal women re-estrogen levels? I don't have a postmenopausal product. I do have to say we are creating one. So we're going to have a menopausal product and a postmenopausal product that also deals with metabolic syndrome and heart issues, or supporting the heart as well. So I'm really excited about that one. That's going to be in more 2023. So I guess really looking at one of the things you really can do is looking at your nutrition, making sure that you're taking care of your body in the sense of having your protein every day, making sure you're having good fibers, carbohydrates. And you can also get I don't know if you're working with a doctor, hopefully maybe you are working with a nutritional practitioner, can go in and actually talk to him more about your hormone levels, and he'd be able to direct you more on that one. Yeah, she answered the question right. Abbotsford, this one here. What about prebiotics? Yeah, so prebiotics are what feed the probiotics. So I can take gut health supplements daily. I take gut health supplements daily. So I've always done that. Yes, you can. I mean, you can have fermented food. Is it what about prebiotics, or what are prebiotics? I'm not sure if that's a what about, but prebiotics are good too. So prebiotics would be those fermented foods that we're talking about. And yes, you can take gut health supplements every day. And can you take too many? Well, you'd have to be taking a lot, I would think. But if you take the recommended dosage that's on the bottle, like for Enzyme Force, for example, you should be perfectly fine. I think that answers them. Is there any more?
And then you got a couple just someone said amazing accomplishment. I think that was when you were talking about being on Dragon's Den. So yeah. And then just some more, just kind of so true, just positive feedback. Looks like there's another question.
Sure.
Question is, I saw a naturopathic doctor and did have my cortisol, vitamin B12, and vitamin D levels checked. I'll ask about the others. Oh, I guess they were just letting you know that they talked to their doctor.
Yeah, sorry. That is. Oh, okay. Was that the estrogen? That must have been the estrogen question then. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I mean, if you're, I'm not sure what your to check your estrogen if you're in menopause for weight gain. Like, I'm not sure where you're kind of at. So it almost be a question we'd want to have kind of one-on-one to look at what is kind of going on with that.
And then another question, should you take prebiotics and probiotics together?
Some of them, excuse me, sorry. Yes, you can take them together. Yes, you can, because they're going to feed the good bugs. So yes, you can. You can take prebiotics on their own. I know some people just take the prebiotics, but yeah, you can take them both. I think that's a question.
And then they said, great, thank you.
You're welcome. It's weird not seeing the questions. I'm like, what are
I
they?
know. So I think that's it. Do you have anything else that, oh no, something else came in. If the goal is to increase water consumption daily, it feels opposite from taking water be gone. I guess that's a comment.
Yeah. Well, it just depends. Yes, you want to increase your water consumption, but it also depends on how much water you're retaining. So if you are somebody who is struggling with water retention, so if you are finding some of those symptoms, then this is a great product to flush out the excess water in your system. As I said, pre-cycle, you can gain 5 to 8 pounds of water. So you're still going to keep drinking that water. It's just going to flush out the excess water in your system. And then I also find I'm very sodium sensitive. So if I have, let's say, soy sauce and sushi before I go to, at night on a Sunday night, and if I'm wearing rings, they're really tight the next morning. So by I drink lots of water, but also having water be gone, that flushes out that excess water in my system. So water be gone is not something you use all the time. That's another thing I'm going to say too. This is something you use when you need it. So you still want to make sure having the water, you don't want to be taking water be gone every single day and then drinking water. You want to use it when it's needed. I will say this quickly though, the reason they stack nicely, if you did want to stack these together, because a lot of the time what I find is you're kind of looking for that dial to move a bit in the beginning of a weight loss journey. And so a lot of the time it is a lot of excess water. And so when you start kind of cleaning up your nutrition a bit, and you have a little bit of water be gone, it just kind of will get that dial to move a little fast. It motivates you a little more. That's one of the things I found with people I work with too.
I have a question.
Yeah, sure.
So you said you scan the QR code and every bottle has like a different workout and meal plan. Did I get that right?
Every bottle, sorry, I'm drinking my greens.
It's okay.
Every bottle has a 30 to 60 second video. The Lose It has a workout. Water Be Gone, we have a liver, I think it's the liver detoxification menu planner on that one. And we talk about all things with water retention. So we don't just say, take water be gone. We talk about compression socks. We talk about, the making sure like using salts such as Himalayan salts instead, using exercise, different tips and strategies to take care of water retention. With Reclaim, our day-to-day hormonal support product, which I think is the best hormonal support product on the market. We actually go into the 4 phases of a woman's cycle: follicle, ovulation, lutein, and ovulation. So looking at all those 4, what things you want to do, what foods you want to focus on. So each one is really detailed and geared towards whichever product you're buying. Our stress support product has daily affirmations in there, but every single one has meal plans that are all individual. So that's a really big, that's my way of kind of, when I think about it, because Lose It is where I got the idea of the QR codes from Lose It, because I struggled with launching a weight loss product because I had my issues with all my eating disorders and whatnot and dieting. But I've been asked so many times when I'd be out doing talks or in stores talking to women, and they're all asking about the same thing. So I thought, well, if I could do this, but how am I going to give them all the tools they need? How am I going to give you meal plans? Because it's not just a magic pill. Nothing is a magic pill. You have to really apply all of those all the pillars of holistic health that we talk about. And even tonight, looking at everything as a circle, how does it all apply to creating sustainable weight loss? And I was in my car and I remember just driving. I'm like, how am I going to do this? And I went, I can use QR codes. And that's really how I used it. The first thought was just for Lose It. And then as I began thinking, I'm like, oh my God, this is how I can give everybody what they need and the tools and tips and strategies to actually apply this. So when you leave a store and you've talked to your retailer friend, you can walk out the door and have it with you and go home and be like, oh, okay, I know exactly what to do. You don't have to call and be like, what did you tell me? Or start Googling. You can really know at the tip of your hands. And that's where it really came to. And that just excites me to know that we've had so much good feedback from people looking at the menu planners, using them and learning so much more about what they're taking, because we go into detail at every single ingredient as well. So it's not just buying something and be like, I don't know what this ingredient does. So that was important too.
That's really interesting.
That was a really long answer.
Congratulations on your good idea. That's really cool.
Yeah, I'm excited.
One more question came in if you have time. It says, what is your take on intermittent fasting?
Well, I do flexible fasting. I can't do anything that's timed or restrictive. I can't weigh things, because the minute I do that, it's a trigger for me. I recognize that in myself. So what I do is I do flexible fasting. So when I get up in the morning, I listen to my body. When Grenielin, as we talked about, that little green character, when I start to feel hungry, that's your Grenielin being released. But also what that does, and I didn't really talk about this, but also triggers growth hormone in your body. And we want to have growth hormone. That's what keeps us younger. And so by doing that, that triggers your body to release some more growth hormone. So I let myself get a little bit of hungry. I feel that, little green guy growling away in my stomach, weigh a little bit more, and then I eat. And sometimes it's at 8 in the morning. Sometimes it's 11 in the morning. But what I've learned to do, so it's not that all or nothing. I have to wait to 12. I can't eat till then, because that's the all or nothing space for me, which I can't abide in. It allows myself to trust myself when I'm hungry. So it's like, oh, okay, I'm hungry right now. I'm hungry. I'm going to let myself be a little bit hungry. Okay, now I'm going to eat something really good for me, right? I'm going to give myself that high level gasoline that we're talking about. So I think there is a place for it. I think it just depends. Some people really love intermittent fasting and see great results with it. I like it because it really allows me to land. I call it flexible fasting. It allows me to land in a space where I trust my body and I listen to when I'm hungry. So I think it just depends on, I think it's whatever works for you. I think we're all so unique and so different, and what works for me won't work for you. But maybe tonight in our talk, you're able to go, oh, I really like that. I'm going to take some of this. Oh, and I like that. Because that's what I've done over the years, is I've listened to different people and taken different things and applied them. And I'm like, oh, okay, this works for me. So I think that's kind of what we all have to do.
Thanks, Erin. So I'm going to close up unless you want to add anything. Sorry.
Anything? Do you want to say anything? I just want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I know that most of us have had some really long days with everything going on. So I really appreciate everybody taking the time and listening. And by all means, if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out. We have a great team of Aeryon Wellness who would love to answer questions. So feel free to reach out on the Aeryon Wellness page or to email us. We'll definitely get back to you, and sign up for our newsletter and get into choices and take advantage of the sale going on right now.
Yeah, so speaking of sale, remember that you are going to receive an email shortly, and that's going to have a survey. And if you fill that out, we'll ask you for your physical mailing address, and that's so we can send you the nutrition buck, which is your coupon that you get to save some money when you're in the store, and that can be applied to sale items as well. So a double sale, as you could think of it.
Oh.
Yeah, so for future events, visit our website, choicesmarkets.com. And thank you all for being here tonight. Thank you, Erin.
So much. Thank you.